What's up, everybody?
What's up, brothers?
What's up, everybody? We're back for episode 3 of season 2 of the Bengal Brothers Podcast, and I'm here with Bengal Bob and Coach Ray. How's it going, guys?
Hey, doing good.
It's going,
we're back,
man.
Boys. And we're 0-2 again. This is becoming a trend.
The streak continues, brother. The streak continues.
5 and 6 years. So,
Definitely been here
used to it.
We've been here before, that's for sure.
Yeah, but we're going to get into all the details. So, I don't know about you guys, but literally since Sunday, I mean, all I thought about was getting in here just to vent and rant and argue with you guys about this because what a game.
What a game.
Instant classic. It was an instant classic. Just like the last 4 or 5 games against them have been. Yeah. You know, I can't help but think of all the big battles between Peyton and Brady. You know, it's the modern day Peyton and Brady, I think. Whether some people disagree, but
I think what kills the classic part of it, man, is the referees get involved in the end of the game. You know, I mean, when you think about some of the greatest games you've ever witnessed, you know, it generally ends with a quarterback beating another quarterback. Not a referee getting involved and throwing a flag. So, just my opinion.
That's been a big debate this week. It's been a big debate already.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't think we were going to talk about this right off the bat, but do I really think that was a penalty? Yes. Do you hate to see it called in the biggest moment of the game for, 2-3 games now? A penalty to pretty much end the game? That feels
especially while there's an egregious hold happening at the same time that they didn't throw a flag on. So it is what it is. We had our chances.
Well, you know, honestly, I think the Bengals offense was way better this week. I mean, multitude of different looks, different personnels. They were pretty versatile. And I think for the most part, this was the bounce back we wanted. Like, you know, as far as from the offensive standpoint from week 1 against the Patriots. I mean, I don't think it was perfect, and there are some missed opportunities, you know, like on the turnovers. But this was day and night from what we saw last week.
I think it was a great measuring stick.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Reg. I mean, it was definitely a big bounce back for our offense. Not just building that chemistry, finding an identity and stuff like that, but all around, you know, we looked a lot more professional than we did comparison to week 1.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't look like a preseason offense.
I mean, obviously September has always been known as a glorified preseason month for a lot of clubs, you know. I'm not going to say all 32, but I mean, a great majority of clubs treat September like a preseason month. So, I mean, obviously, bro, we've had this conversation earlier in the week, man. You know, I mean, that was huge fumble by Joe. Unbelievable play for their defense to scoop and score. And I think it comes down to the end of the game, and I fundamentally disagree with the play calling. I mean, especially when you pick up 4 yards on first down and you're staring down at 2nd and 6, you got every way of taking that clock all the way down almost to the 2-minute warning if you just run the ball, you know. And they didn't seem to have an answer for Brown. I'm surprised Moss got that many carries compared to Brown. I thought they would have split it a little 50-50, a little more. But, I mean, look at Brown's stats, man, for his 4 carries that he had. I mean, I honestly feel like he was going to close that game out if we just kept handing him the ball. And unfortunately, whether Joe checked into that or Zach called that, I mean, that's a horrible play call, man. You don't throw the ball on 2nd and 6. You run the ball, especially when there's a guy like Patrick Mahomes on the other side.
Yeah. Honestly, go ahead, Bob.
We've talked about it several times, you know, especially you, Reggie. You know, you can look back on any given Sunday, on any game, and there's 4 or 5 plays that will determine the outcome of this game. There's a huge part of our fan base and, you know, the NFL and the talking heads that, you know, and like you just brought up, you know, the 4th and 16 play. To me, I call this game the 2nd and 6. And here's why. And I'm going to have to disagree with you, Ray, because, yeah, he ran the ball. We got 4 yards on first down. 2nd and 6. There's nobody within 5 yards of Yoshi. Now, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but Burrow is a big part of the problem and the reason why we didn't make the plays in the critical situations to win this game. On that 2nd and 6, there's nobody within 5 yards of Yoshi. If he catches that ball, it's another first down, and we keep on trucking. Burrow threw a bad ball on that play. Yeah, Yoshi still had a chance to catch it, but the ball was behind him in a way. You can't chalk it up anything other than that was a misplaced ball thrown by Burrow. But it's what it is.
Again, dude, and I'm going to disagree with you, dude, because fundamentally, I don't give a fuck who the quarterback is. Excuse my French. I don't care who the quarterback is. I don't care if it's Tom Brady, bro. I don't care. Wow. You don't put the ball in the air, period. For that reason. I mean, if you're predominantly rushing, no, regardless, it's a basic football fundamental, right? You have the lead, you have the ball. Time is their enemy, right? That is all you need. Now, obviously, bro, if we run the ball on first down and let's say Chase Brown gets 2 yards, now I wouldn't question the play call so much on 2nd and 8. But 2nd and 6, bro, you run that ball, period. I don't care if you have the worst running back in the National Football League. You hand that dude the ball, and you take another 40 seconds off the clock. It's that simple, man. And you keep going.
See, once again, our offense had a chance with the balls in our hand.
No, they put the ball out of game. They close out of game. Burrow's hands. That's the problem.
Well, if you remember games of the past where there's been situations at the end of the game and the times that we beat Kansas City where we put the ball in the air on at the end of the game on those drives, and he put the ball in the air and it worked out and we won the game. This time it didn't work out.
Well, the last time
that's who we are. That's who we are as an offense. We are
honestly, you know, I look at this from the perspective of look at last week and look going back to previous years, like, you know, weeks 1 and week 2s. And, you know, something we talked about a lot week 1 was, in my opinion, I think the Bengals played not to lose against the Patriots. They didn't go out and attack it and play to win, call it unprepared, whatever. And we've talked ad nauseum literally all last year, all off season, and now through 2 weeks about the Bengals starting 0-2 again and slow starts and what they need to change in off season, all that. I think in a weird way, like this coming week against Monday Night Football and the Commanders, which we're going to talk about later, I think Sunday against Kansas City, they took a sigh of relief. I think a lot of fans did about, this team and how they're going to play and persevere going forward. And obviously 0-2 is not ideal. But I think this goes back to what we talked about last week, Ray, is the Bengals are taking what's given to them. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing. They've been a lot of teams around the league. Offense has struggled, and that's become the, everyone's playing Tampa 2, taking away the pass. So teams are running the ball. There's been less touchdowns thrown over the past 2 weeks than there has to start a season. And I don't remember which year. So like 05 or something like that. Week 1 had like the fewest touchdowns thrown over since like 2000 or something. And I think the Bengals were doing the same thing. They were taking what was given to them. And on that 2nd and 6, they felt it was a pass. However they looked at it, like you said, whether Zach called it, Burrow checked into it, they felt that what the defense was doing was dictating them that they should throw the ball. And I'm not agreeing or disagreeing on that. My issue with them in this offense has been execution. And they executed way better this week. But guess what they didn't do? Execute in some of the big moments. The defense did, but the offense didn't, off 2 turnovers. 2 turnovers, we get 6 points. We got a couple comments coming, one on Facebook from Jan. I feel better coming out of this loss than I did last week. We played the Chiefs like we played the Chiefs. I wish we didn't start from behind like the past few years. But there's no reason to panic. I agree. But, I mean –
yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that statement. I mean,
Wild Zareth over on Twitch, it's the smart play, but not a guarantee. He'll fumble trying to run out the clock a few years back. Yeah.
Right.
That was the brawl in the ball.
Happen. Yeah, anything can happen,
man. Matt, I just had flashbacks like a war veteran, like, Fonte's perfect.
The Chiefs 100% are playing the run right there. You know what I mean? So again, obviously, if you draw up the right pass play, receiver's going to be open. Like Yoshi, to Bobby's point, being a Bob, Yoshi got open. Again, they're
look at Saquon Barkley last night in the Eagles game.
At the end of the day,
that play was a perfect example.
It's in that scenario on the 2nd and 6. It's not about getting that first down. It's about taking more time off the clock. Ideally, in that situation, you'd like to pick up 4 or 5 yards again. So then you're a 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2. The clock's still running. You still got to snap the ball before the 2-minute warning, but you're able to take it all the way down to that 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happens on 4th down, if we punt or go for it. But that's that's the coaching. Like, so again, I mean,
that's the way it's traditionally done. That's the way it's traditionally done.
You're right. And it's an aggressive move to throw the football there.
Now,
but when you're not, but like to Reggie's point, you're not executing right now at 100%. You just had a nice bounce back. Sure, you played a good game so far, but look what the result was. The timing was off between Joe and Yoshi, and the ball was behind him.
If your argument was now on the drive where we got inside the 5 of Kansas City, and he ended up hitting Trent Irwin in the face mask. If your argument was we should have ran the ball on 1st and 2nd down once we were inside the 5, I would agree with you, because I feel like inside the 5-yard line, you'd like to think. But then again, this is the first game. Last week I noticed, it was evident that there's no Tyler Boyd on the field. This week, when we were on that drive where we got inside the 5, it was evident we don't have Joe Mixon. We don't have a power back that you can use to pound in, in a goal line situation like that. Unfortunately, I feel like if you're arguing there, I would agree with you. But, it's apples to oranges on that last drive on that 2nd and 6, man. It really is.
It really isn't, though, brother.
I personally think that the 1-2 punch of Zach Moss and Chase Brown's actually really nice. I think Zach Moss is a great runner. Who he reminds me of in a weird way is Le'Veon Bell. How Le'Veon was the first back, just sort of pause at the line and wait for that line. And he just gashed the Bengals on it. Yeah, he would almost like stop at the line of scrimmage to wait. I've noticed like watching some of his Colts tape and now him with the Bengals, Zach Moss is very much patient back, he's explosive. Right. He's explosive. Yeah, Chase Brown's 4 carries were all draws, and Chase Brown runs that so well because he goes 0 to 100 so fast.
Absolutely.
And honestly, so like, look, traditionally, should you run the ball there? 100%, I agree. And I'm not saying that I disagree with it traditionally, because I probably would run the ball there too. But this is the modern 2024 NFL, and the Bengals have been a 70% pass team to 30% run. Regardless of what you could say about them, they've been consistent. Zach will put the ball in Joe's hands. Joe changes the play at the line of scrimmage. and does things, which to me, why again, is if you make that completion and it's now 3rd and short, you don't ever go back and say, we should have ran the ball. You don't say that. You think it was a good play call. I'm not saying you,
right,
but people in general.
On that completion, there was no one within 5 yards. That's probably going for a first down.
No, I agree. I'm just saying in hindsight, that's how it feels.
Right, and I'm agreeing with you, Bingo Bob, there.
Yeah.
Again, because they're playing the rush. They're playing that run. They're not playing a pass. That defense was fully prepared for Cincinnati to hand the ball off there. And again, if you got the right routes drawn up, the receiver's going to be wide open like Yoshi was. Yeah. But unfortunately, our timing and execution hasn't been there.
Bobby, final thoughts on offense.
Well, my final thoughts on offense is it sucks. I mean, our offense don't suck, but the way this game, went through its highs and lows, our defense played good enough to win this game. Unfortunately, there was those 4 or 5 critical plays with Burrow's fumble, the one drive, which the whole drive got killed.
The Chase explosion.
First, Gesicki dropped that ball, which would have been a first down, and then on 2nd down, it was a sack. 3rd down is Burrow's fumble. Then, you're driving again in the 4th quarter, and then Chase loses his shit. As far as I'm concerned, the Chiefs didn't win this game. Our offense lost this game for us.
Ray, final thoughts? Or you want me to go?
Go ahead, bro. I'm trying to take that in for a minute.
Honestly, my biggest takeaway is Burrow's back, to be honest. I think, week 1, real quick, he checked the box that he can take a hit and fall on the ground and not re-injure his wrist. And I confidently say that. Not all offseason I have not said that, just because now 2 weeks sample size is short. But, I mean, I don't think there's a ball on the field that Joe can't make. And with Joe healthy, this offense is going to be a top 10 offense. That's what they've been. When Joe's healthy.
I agree.
This team, Joe, in 4 years, has not finished a season twice, and the Bengals have not made the playoffs. And in the 2 years he's been healthy, this team has went to the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl and won one, like AFC Championship. So, personally, like this game, I sighed a relief because I'm like, okay, they learned a lot from what the execution issues and the play call issues in week 1, and hopefully they're going to learn a lot about who they are and their identity. They set a trend. Guess what? Every time Chase Brown is on Monday Night Football, the Commanders defense is going to think draw because all 4 of his carries were draws. Like little things like that. Not only did they play well, they created some tendencies. And what is it we've said all season 1? You have to do something enough to actually create an identity to do tendency breakers. If you don't have an identity, you can't break tendencies because you have no real tendencies. So that's been a big part of this offense once they go on these long win streaks, in my opinion, is they figure it out, and then defenses are coming in week to week, and the Bengals are going after that defense's weakness. They go in, they start slow usually, and then they figure it out at halftime.
Yeah, they gave them a lot of tape because they were 12, 13, 22 personnel. I thought the offense showed some very promising things.
Wild Zero said, it's not like you guys have Marshawn back there. Burrow is the Bengals playmaker. Might as well put in him to make it happen. And that's what they've done for how many, 3 years, 4 years?
To our own detriment.
In weeks 1 and 2, this is what we argued about last week. In weeks 1 and 2, I completely agree with everything you said. The play calling's bad. The players aren't ready. The play calling's bad, and there's a lack of execution in week 1 and week 2. Outside of that, they're a top 10 offense.
Week 1 and 2, our offense had the ball in their hands with a chance to close the game out, and it just didn't happen for whatever reason. Mistakes.
I'm sorry. Ray, did you want some final thoughts on the Bengals offense before we go to defense, or you want to start off defense?
I mean, there's a lot of personnel, and we're still trying to figure it out. Yeah. I mean, again, the big elephant in the room is Jamar, and I feel like until we get some closure on that, we're going to continue to see this. I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
it's going to be all season, probably.
I mean, it could be. It could be.
I find this passion awesome. I find his passion awesome.
If he channels it to some big games, if he has
I'm not talking about his passion, man. I'm just strictly talking about the elephant in the room, which is he wants money and he wants it now, and again, something like that can be a cancer in the locker room and it can plague offense.
Word on the street is that Zebra told him to get the fuck out of his face, and that's why he really went off and got mad. Now, whether that's true or not, only the ref and the players around him knew. But that's the word out there that the ref told him to get the fuck out of his face, and it pushed him over the limit.
Yeah, Zebra.
He lost.
Like, get the fuck out of our
face.
That
was a chain of events.
These are red and white.
Zach and his face on the sideline.
So I'll kick us off.
That's the most emotion we've seen them show on the field when it comes to shit like
Burrow
that.
rarely shows that much emotion, for sure.
So yeah, we were just talking about that not too long ago, man. Again, that's one of our biggest problems in Cincinnati is we don't play pissed. Like we need to be pissed off, mad as fuck, being that aggressor, being the intimidator.
We need to be playing more like
Vontez Burfict back for a 1-week contract against the Commanders.
But I'll kick us off on defense, man.
Sorry, we need help with defense.
Just our defense, man, is actually really, really, really good. I mean, it's not me just being a fan and saying that, but Lou's putting all those pieces just in the right places, man. And I would say by week 4, week 5, we're going to be probably one of the toughest defenses in the National Football League. Like it's only going to take those 2 or 3 more games and they're going to be clicking all the way around. I mean, everybody knows Trey, dude. I mean, Trey's an animal, dude. Like the guy is an animal.
Son.
Like he's
Game
just
wrecker.
There's a reason why when you look at the top 3 best Ds in the game, dude, and Trey's face is right there. He's got to be right there in that top 3. I mean, he's just
at the very least the most underrated edge player in football.
Absolutely, man.
In my opinion.
He's just an
I think
animal.
he's second in sacks over the last 4 years.
Yeah, he's an animal, man.
Honestly,
Lou's going to keep putting those pieces, man. If he might have to move a couple more, obviously, because the puzzle might not be his masterpiece yet, but Lou's going to get it there, man, by week 4, week 5, man. And
he plays Chiefs as good as any DC.
He does, man.
He really does.
Well, you got another great defensive coordinator on that side, too.
Well, honestly, when I think about the Bengals defense, I think about how for like 4 years straight, we've been gashed week 1s and week 2s so much that it created a narrative that we can't stop the run. So teams just every week come out and they're going to make us stop the run before they're going to do anything else. And we go through stretches where they do it and stretches where they don't. And right now, this team is very thin in defensive line. And they didn't exactly break the narrative against the Chiefs, but they did play much better than they did week 1. The missed tackles tick was way down, and they rallied to the ball. And, I mean, they held the Chiefs' offense in check. I mean, they really did. And 2 picks on Mahomes. Cam Taylor-Britt with one of the best interceptions you'll literally ever see. I mean, that's as good as it gets.
It was a great pick, man.
I mean,
Travis had 1 reception for 5 yards.
Alexander Lane said Sterling Denny. Sterling Denny. Is that a quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I drawing a blank on that?
I don't know, but it does sound familiar.
Sterling Denny. I wonder if that was.
I like Denny's.
I like Denny's.
Grand Slam, man. Let's go.
He sounded like MCDC.
When it comes,
man.
When it comes, did you still have more you wanted to talk about the defense, Reg?
No, I think they played much better. Good enough to win the game.
I agree with you. I'm going to give you a couple negatives and then a couple positives on the defense. The couple negatives that I didn't like, which Cam Taylor even said in his locker room interview, and you saw it watching the game, on that really their longest play of the day, and a quarter of Mahomes' passing yards came on that go route to Rice. And you clearly seen in the game, Cam Taylor was more or less thinking that he didn't think the ball was going there. He clearly slowed down, still had the speed, to come back with it and almost get a finger on the ball. That was a mistake there. I thought one of the biggest coaching mistakes, and again, this is just my opinion. I thought the coaching staff overall did one of the best jobs that they've ever done. Some people may disagree or agree with that. I know that we've made it famous. Lou Anaruma's made it famous, and it's worked time and time again with dropping 8 and rushing 3. But on that 4th and 16 play, one thing I didn't like is you have a 7th round draft pick out there who's basically never been in that big of a game and situation in the NFL. You dropped 8 and rushed 3 when Trey Hendrickson has been a monster the whole day. They literally benched their left tackle because of him, and then the guy who came in to replace him was getting holding calls. I think on 4th and 16 there, you rush 4 or 5. You have to rush 4 or 5, and you tell Trey Hendrickson, you've got home all day. Let's go get him one last down. I feel like that was a mistake on the defense. I feel like some positives. Cam Taylor is right back to where he was before he got hurt last year, and he's a Pro Bowl corner. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Cam Taylor's a Pro Bowl corner. Another positive is Trey Hendrickson looks somehow better than he has the past few years, even though he missed a large part of training camp. I think if this man is not in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, the NFL's against us, and you won't change my mind otherwise. Unfortunately,
he stays at this pace for sure.
The Bengals worked some guys out today, and unfortunately, you're not going to get Aaron Donald to come out of retirement because that's what they need. There's really nobody out there we have to get help on this defensive line because right now we have Zach Carter and Tufele, and that's it. I mean,
they signed somebody big. They signed a guy.
Hopefully, you got to get that fixed, and you need to get some more pressure on the other side, and you're going to have someone who can get consistent pressure to rotate in and out with Sam Hubbard. But overall, I think this will be a top 10 defense come November.
Ray, you got thoughts on defense?
I started it, bro. I shared what I had to say. I'm the one who started it, bro. Yeah, I started it.
Well, I remember you finished off.
I mean, I can keep talking. No,
I mean,
you know what I mean.
Any final thoughts on defense at all?
I agree with what Bengal Bob was just saying, man. I mean, adding Geno Stone to the roster, getting Vaughn back. I mean, Cam Taylor. I mean, Dak's transitioning into that position. He's coming along. I mean, yeah, I said Dak's, Bengal Bob. I mean, dude,
hey, Dak's had a decent game, other than he's a little off on his coverage here and there, but overall, I think he's playing great. He definitely cleaned up the missed tackles from
for a second start at corner.
Right?
He's in there.
Like another thing I was disappointed on is Mike Hilton was not on the field for that 4th and 16. I've been
wondering if like, especially through camp and stuff, I wonder if there's been something underlying with Mike, like maybe he's taking a step.
I think
if they don't have him coming off the edge a couple times they have, but
I think they brought in DJ Turner on that play because of the speed aspect.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mike's not nowhere near the speed that Turner has. I didn't like the 7th round draft pick. He's never been in that big of a moment in the game out there, and unfortunately, ball's thrown to his side.
I honestly like. I partially agree with like you should probably bring forward that way. You give Trey a chance to just go one-on-one.
You have to give him a chance.
They started chipping him finally in the second quarter, and they did the rest of the game. But there was a couple times the back would not even chip, and Trey could go under. But I think Lou's mindset was probably, we're so thin at D-line, let's just run 3, and our 4th corner or third safety is going to be better than our 6th D lineman. So we'll load the back end up. But, you never know what the conversation is behind it. So.
No, I mean, I don't disagree with him running 3. I just disagree with the 3 he had out there. And then obviously you should have had someone staying at home. So whether that's Mike Hilton, who's been great at that, you know what I mean? You let the first 3 rush, everything's underneath, everything's shell coverage. And then have that spire like Mike Hilton, the spy. So the minute Patrick Mahomes came up and avoided that tackle,
normally
I could have met him right there, bro, and ended the play.
Well, and in the past, normally that spy's been Sam Hubbard. They'll drop they'll rush to 3, and then Sam is the spy. He
almost plays like Mike. Remember, he's lined up at Mike a couple times and been a spy.
But see, Sam Hubbard's not been completely healthy.
We'll see that again at some point when these two teams play again in the playoffs.
Right.
Let's get into Monday Night Football, boys. We got a primetime game coming up. We're 0-2. And
they're 1-1.
They're 1-1.
Coming off a win.
Our backs are against the wall once again. We're like Bernie Sanders standing here at week 3, like, I'm coming to you once again at 0-2, seeking a win.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I can start if you guys want me to start. I mean, that's honestly, I think
just go right on ahead, Ray.
Honestly, I think it should be a slaughter. If that same offense that just played against Kansas City comes and plays against the Commanders, it will be a slaughter, bro. Think about it like this. I think they just beat the Giants, I think, by 3 points. The Giants by 3 points. So again, there's not a lot of hope there in Washington. So it's going to be a slaughter, man.
In all fairness, we said that about the Patriots.
But in all fairness, looking overall, I think we're 4-1-1 week 3. So I fully expect us to get to 5-1-1 right here, boys. I mean, if the history is going to keep repeating itself here,
hopefully it does in this week 3 too. Otherwise, you're 0-3, and statistically, 0-3 teams don't make the playoffs.
Well, I mean,
there's only been 2 that's made a Super Bowl in the past, I don't know how many years, and one of them is us in 22 season.
So if I'm not mistaken, that one loss came against Green Bay on a missed field goal.
There was 5 missed field goals in that game. Remember?
If I'm not mistaken.
that was a shit show.
And then the tie was with Philly.
Listen, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. This game kind of scares the shit out of me, and for a couple reasons. Yeah, obviously Burrow is not Andy Dalton, so he plays much better under the lights. But the trend is out there, like you just brought up a few minutes ago, Reg, is teams know that, especially as weak as everybody's going to know that we just lost 2 more starters on the defensive tackle position on the interior of our defensive line. Washington, let's look at them. What can they do? The quarterback, very elusive, can run the ball like crazy. Pretty darn good at it. They have a very solid running game that can run the ball decently. Washington is going to do exactly what New England did, and exactly what the Chiefs did. They're going to do exactly what the Chiefs did. I mean, our defense, we just held Patrick Mahomes to his worst statistical game in the NFL. But coming into the game, the Chiefs, I don't think, planned on having a big, high-passing game. They ran the ball down our throat in between the 20s. Thankfully, our defense was better with Kansas City opposed to what happened with New England. They kind of let them, give and take game in between the 20s, and then we clamped down the red zone. You better believe that the Redskins,
don't break defense.
I'm sorry, the Commanders are going to come in here. And they're going to take a little bit of the Chiefs and a little bit of the Patriots. There's going to be a lot of, options.
You're listening to this, let's get canceled in the chat.
Right. Well, I don't care. There'll always be the Redskins to me. Anyways, they're going to come in and try to muck the shit out of this game. So it would be nice to have a blowout, like you're saying, Ray. But the only way that's going to happen is if we start fast and we get points on the board and don't let them do that, because that scares the shit out of me to let the Commanders hang around and let them use that running game on us, and we end up in the same situation we did week 1.
Well,
the only reason why it didn't happen that way between Kansas City is because we were able to drive the ball. We were able to score, whether it was field goals or touchdowns this past week. So Kansas City kind of had to, we forced them to kind of have to throw the ball here and there. Opposed to New England, we came out and did 3 straight 3-and-outs, let them put points on the board, and then we're screwed from there. So I hope that in a perfect world, we are going to come out and blow the doors off Commanders on Ring of Honor night in front of, the whole world. I mean, I hope that's how it goes. But like I said, it scares me a little bit because how bad we are against the run right now and the weapons that the Commanders do have when it comes to the running game.
Well, honestly, I don't disagree with a lot of that. I think you look at the Chiefs game, to beat a team like the Chiefs, who are of the elite in the NFL, almost regardless of what their record's going to be throughout the year through the regular season, they're that type of team, right? To beat them, you have to score on every possession, whether it's a field goal or touchdown. You want it to be touchdowns, but every time you touch the ball, you need to go score because they're going to get points and they're going to control the ball. So, and if it's going to be a grinder of a game, a team like the Commanders, it's going to be a grinder of a game. But it could be how I thought the opening Patriots game was going to be, was that it was probably going to be a grinder of a game because they're going to try to run the ball at us. But our offense is hopefully going to have their best day, and on their best days, they can score on every possession. But what happens is throughout the game, there's a big play here, a big play here. And by the end of the game, it's like, dang, we won 31-17 or 31-21. It looks like we blew them out, and it was a closer game than that. If this offense wants to take it up one more notch, because there's room for improvement from last week, if you add in just 3 plays off the top of my head I can think of, Burrow has a 300-plus yard passing day. If you add in the Gesicki 11-yard pass, he had what did he have? 259. So that puts him at almost 270, right? 260 or almost 270. There's like 2 or 3 plays there that if they just hit on, if they make those plays in the Commanders game, Burrow's going to have his best game of the year, given it's a 3-game sample size. But that's what we want, and that's what historically this team has done in these moments. When they're coming out of bye and they lost 2 years ago, and then they went on a 4-game win streak after dropping 2 straight games. We're like, damn, we at one point we were like 4-2. We thought we were going to be, and the next thing you know, we were 4-4. And then the Bengals rattled off 4 straight games, and we're 8-4 before you could blink. Which, oh, by the way, we're going into week 3 already. We've been waiting on the season to start. Like, literally, think about how long the offseason's been. We're literally going into Monday Night Football game.
You wait forever, and the season just blows by.
So I'll kick us off with predictions. And I know I just threw out a number a minute ago, but that's not actually my pick. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 31-17. But I see this game being 27-17 Bengals. And, I think Burrow's going to be a tick better than he was in week 2. I think the offense will be a tick better. Burrow just had a career high throwing to tight ends. His whole career, he threw more yards to tight ends against the Chiefs. And I think we're going to see a little more to that to open up Chase, and hopefully Higgins is back. But 27-17 is my pick. Bray, what's your prediction? Best bet?
You want me to go next? I got the final score being 34-13.
Damn. Hell yeah.
So, again, like how I started that off before, this is tendency on whether or not the Bengals offense plays like they did against the Chiefs just now. That's why I didn't talk about New England. If our offense plays like they did against the Chiefs, this is going to be a boat race game. It just is, man. Again, like, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you on some of the things you said, Bingo Bob and Reg, but at the end of the day, you can't compare Washington's running back to the Chiefs running back. You can't compare Washington's O-line to the Chiefs O-line. Like that's 2 different breeds right there. So to think that Washington is going to come in after now that our defense has gotten a little settled in and got 2 games under their belt, again, dude, it's my opinion, but it's going to be a fucking boat race, man. It's not even going to be a game.
I hope so.
The first quarter might be a game, but
yeah.
After that, it's going to be a shit show, especially in the second half. And that's just how I see the game going, man. So go ahead, Bingo Bob. Let's see what you got.
I'm going to surprise you. It's going to be a great night in Cincinnati. The stadium is going to be just out of this world. We get to induct Corey Dillon, one of the best running backs of the franchise. We get to induct Tim Crumrye, one of the toughest son of a bitches on the earth that you'll ever, come across. One of the most underrated defensive tackles, nose tackle of all time. This is Joe Burrow's where he starts the revenge tour. And he's going to get revenge for his rookie season knee injury Monday night. I think this game's nowhere near close. I don't think we allow the Commanders to even score a touchdown. And I think we just kind of take off on them. I don't think Joe Burrow's going to be playing in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter. I think we're going to have the backup in there. I'm saying 38-9.
Ooh.
And the revenge tour starts now, and the win streak starts now.
Dude, if either one of your guys' predictions happy, I'm going to be a happy man this time next week. Because we boat raced him, son. And I think we're capable of it. Honestly, I really do. I don't think either of you are wrong in having those feelings. I think we did.
I also think we're going to have another Jermaine Burton sighting on Monday night, too.
Nice. Either of you guys got a best bet for the game before we move on to Cincy's Finest Five? All right. Time for a second.
I said, all right. No,
I thought you were saying no.
No, bro. I got no best bet. I don't like betting on the Bengals. I got a bet out right now with a Phillies fan, and I don't like it. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say week one you should have took the Patriots to cover was my best bet, and that was technically right. And I would take the Bengals to cover this game. I think they're going to beat them by more than the spread. That'll be my bet for you. So, time for our second Cincy's Finest Five. Last week we did head coaches. So, if you're watching this right now, which across, let me see here, across all three platforms, we got 36 people watching right now.
Hey, appreciate it.
Last week we did Cincy's Finest Five head coaches. So if you're interested in seeing our thoughts on that, last week was a shit show. We argued the entire episode. It's been much better this week. Go check that out. It's on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Somebody decided to put Dick LeBeau on their list. Come on.
This week is quarterbacks. So, let's get into it. This is not a list of pure statistics. This is not a list of pure opinions. It's somewhere in between. It's somewhere, there's context, and all three of us put together these lists with different contexts and thoughts in mind on how we build them and how we thought or who we thought those five coaches were. So, who wants to go first? Ray, you brought it up in the pregame. You want to go first or no?
Yeah, I don't care, man. I can go first. It doesn't.
You went first a lot tonight, so I'm down to go, or I'll make Bobby go. It's whatever you want to do.
Yeah, let's let Bengal Bob get his five out first.
All right, Bengal Bob. You ready? This is Bob's Finest Five quarterbacks. Go ahead and take us through it. Take your thought process. About 5 minutes. No less than that, 4 minutes.
I based this solely off winning and how many AFC championship games you've made it to, how many playoff games you've won. My list speaks for itself. I know you could probably argue between Esiason, Anderson, and Burrow. I think Burrow's the best quarterback we've had only because he's taken us to 2 AFC championship games. He's won more playoff games. And at this point, it is what it is. I know there's a lot of Palmer fans out there. I was a huge Palmer fan. But unfortunately, Andy Dalton took us to 5 straight playoff appearances. Carson didn't. It is what it is. Esiason took us to a Super Bowl, won an AFC championship game. Kenny Anderson did the same thing. Unfortunately for them, Burrow's done it twice. So it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't argue with the thought process. I think mine's pretty similar. I think there's maybe a little change, but yeah, I think pretty damn similar. Ray, you want to go? You want me to go?
So, wait a minute. You keep Bingo Bob's list up there. So, looking at Bingo Bob's list, right? what was your thought process between 3 to 5?
There is no thought process from 3 to 5.
So why I guess my real question is, why would you put Andy at 4, right? And then put Boomer at 3, but then put Palmer at 5?
Because Boomer's taken us to a Super Bowl and won an AFC championship.
Strictly off that right there. He goes
Well, yeah, because it's about winning.
Number 3.
You could say Jeff Blake was more exciting than almost any of these guys, but he ain't on my fucking list, is he? Because he didn't win shit. To me, it's about winning and
he didn't win shit.
Who gave us the best opportunity at a world championship?
I think about the scene from what movie is it with Jason Sudeikis, and he goes, or is it Jason Sudeikis? And the kid, they're arguing over Jordan and LeBron, and he goes 6 minutes. He goes, "That's all you need, Sean."
That's all you need, bro. Yeah.
All right, Ray. You want to go, Ray? You want me?
Go ahead, Reggie.
My list is pretty similar. Okay, I'm gonna tell you my thought process behind this. And I think there's only 3 quarterbacks in our franchise history that's taken us to Super Bowl. And I think at the end of the day, we can break down statistics, and I did, to determine that between those 3 quarterbacks. And the reality is, Boomer and Kenny have both not only been to a Super Bowl and won the AFC Championship, they both won MVPs. And if you go through every statistical category, yards, touchdowns, Kenny Anderson is number 1. I mean, about the only thing he doesn't have is touchdowns, and that's the Andy Dalton. So I think you look at my list and you say Joe, Boomer, and Kenny are the 3 best quarterbacks in franchise history statistically. And to give you an example of, like, let's say the difference in Palmer and Burrow, right? Palmer threw 22,000 yards in about 95 games, or in about 195 games. Burrow has played about half. I don't think it was quite 195, but Burrow's played about half the games that Palmer has, and he's on pace to have 44,000 yards to Palmer's 22,000. So you look at Palmer, and Palmer had the 05 season, one of the best Bengals teams in history. And he was pretty much climbed to top 5 in yards and touchdowns and everything, but he never got us over the hump. But he was better than about 90% of the quarterbacks in franchise history. Dalton is up there in every statistical category. Never won a playoff game, but took us to 5. He deserves to be in the list. I got him at 4. Burrow has made it to a Super Bowl, been to 2 AFC championships, and make no mistake, by the time the current deal that Burrow just signed is over, he will be number 1 on this list, and he will be number 1 in almost every statistical category. And about 5 more years, he will have more yards than Kenny, more touchdowns than Kenny, more completions, a higher completion percentage. I mean, the only reason Burrow is right now, in my opinion, not better than Boomer or Kenny is because they both won an MVP and played more games and have more overall general career stats. And it's hard to accumulate that because the best availability is availability. And that has been the one thing that Joe has struggled with. So that's how I did my 5. Personally.
Nice.
Ready, Ray?
Sure, bro.
Ray's finest 5.
So my 5 is just my favorites, bro. In that order. I mean, we could talk about stats. We could talk about who did what. We could compare how many seasons Esiason played compared to Carson. We could compare how many seasons Andy played compared to Carson. But at the end of the day, I mean, Andy Dalton is still up there in the top 3. Yeah, he couldn't get the job done when it came to a playoff game. But how many playoff runs did we go on? How many winning seasons did we have? Who's like 3rd in all-time passing? Right. Yards, completions, touchdowns. Like Andy Dalton's at 2, by the way, just behind Ken Anderson.
Let me stop you. Don't talk Andy Dalton up too much because we're going to have to face him here in a few weeks.
Yeah, I know we got the Red Rifle coming, with
they've been calling him the Red Rocket on Pat McAfee.
But at the Red Rocket. But at the end of the day, man, like
he does look like a dog skater.
You can't deny what Andy did and the numbers he put up and how many winning seasons we had. Unfortunately, Andy Dalton couldn't get the job done in the playoffs. Period.
Honestly, I associate Andy Dalton under the same light as Mark Lewis.
Andy deserves to be in that number 3 spot. Now, I'm only putting Joe above Kenny Anderson just because of the time it took Ken to do what he did. Because, again, Ken didn't play his whole career at the Bengals. You know what I mean?
Right.
He came to us, in 78, 79? So, again, like, taking that into comparison, that's why Joe's at number 1. Because Joe, at the end of the day, like Bingo Bob said, he's going to finish with more accomplishments and already has more accomplishments than a majority of these guys on the list. You know, That's why Burrow has more playoff wins than any of these other quarterbacks on this list right now.
Already.
Because you win the first one, you get to play another playoff game. You win that one, you get to play another.
Robert Roman
That's
Sr.
how Joe's got it.
A Bengal, Brown, and Steelers fan climb a mountain. The Brown jumps off for his fans. The Bengal fan says, "This is for Bengals fans," and pushes the Steelers fan off the mountain.
Love that.
That's a good one, Bob.
Love that.
January Massey on Facebook. Boomer behind Palmer. What the fuck, Ray? No way.
No way, Ray.
So I moved some guys around, which you guys know, but
you should have seen who was on that list before this.
Honestly, looking back at mine.
Come on, man.
Does Palmer even deserve to be on this list? That's a real argument. I think that's a real argument. Put him in
I believe so. Palmer was going to win the Super Bowl if Schittsburg don't break his leg in 05.
Which was the next Bengal player.
All right. Oh, and by the way, since he's finest 5 QBs, next week's episode is Cincy's finest 5 running backs.
All right.
So, and then after we get through running backs, because we did coaches, doing quarterbacks and running backs, we're going to do 2 defensive positions, which I won't reveal those yet. But so next week we're going to do running backs, and I think that list is pretty straightforward too, but maybe not, because there's some old school names that might come up going into next week. So, all right, this is our last segment before we wrap up the show.
Let me say something about Jan's comment. To Jan's comment, Carson, to me personally, just my opinion, right, was more consistent than Boomer Esiason, right? There was a lot of pieces built around Esiason that year he won the AFC Championship game. It's a fact. Like, you can look it up. I mean, again, I think he was more consistent. I think Carson was actually before Joe. Carson was it, dude. If we, as a Bengals fan, we thought we were going to win a Super Bowl with Carson Palmer. Yeah. Absolutely, we thought we were going to win a fucking Super Bowl with him.
When Palmer went down in 05, part of me died.
I mean, for a big part of Palmer's career, he had probably one of the best slot receivers in the game and one of the best route runner receivers in the game in Chad and
yeah, I mean, you can look at. I'll give you a Chad, but
he had weapons. He had weapons, dude.
Well,
all right, before this turns toxic,
TJ was fucking clutch.
Rest in peace, Chris Henry.
All the quarterbacks on the list, bro, had weapons at the end of the day. So
for sure,
toxic talk. Okay,
maybe not as high end, but for sure.
He was shaking his head. So, he's like, Chad Johnson, I love you.
Back to another toxic talk. Now, we are going to be doing receivers coming up soon. And receivers is going to be an interesting 5.
That's going to get heated.
Maybe we should do receivers next week. You want to do receivers next week? Let's change it on the fly.
We've had a lot of great receivers.
Let's do receivers next week. We'll do receivers next week. So, this week on Toxic Talk was much less toxic around the league. There was much less toxicness towards the Bengals. But not a whole lot of credit was given.
A lot of people ate their words, even though we didn't win.
So for this week's Toxic Talk, I dug deep, going way back to episode 1, which feels like an eternity. Remember we were preparing for the Patriots? That was weeks ago. We're in week 3. Well, we had someone jump in the comments and lay out this beautiful bad boy. Hold on, let me take this banner down here. and they popped in the chat and they busted out the internet toxicity of all internet toxicity. Go Pack Go, since he's terrible. Fuck the Bengals, sissy liberals.
That's great, dude.
Welcome to the internet in 2024, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, he kind of jinxed himself because where's Jordan Love at right now?
Bob, what was the most toxic thing you saw throughout the league this week?
Well, it's kind of toxic than it wasn't. On Sunday Countdown, you had Randy Moss and what's that fuck's name? He was the coach of the Jets when they beat us in the playoffs some years ago.
Oh, well, you're talking about
what is that fuck's name?
him and his brother both coach.
Rex Ryan.
Rex Ryan.
You had Rex Ryan on there. Couldn't even pronounce Cam Taylor-Britt's fucking name. And, yada, 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 this, yada, yada, that. Well, basically everything they said was wrong. I mean, they were basically all dead wrong on their predictions for the game and how they thought things were and what Kansas City had up their sleeve to do to us. And, well, then yesterday you have Rex Ryan act like he didn't even say any of that. And then he's sitting there praising Cam Taylor-Britt's interception. So it was kind of toxic on Sunday morning, and then they turned into liberal sissies yesterday.
Ray, you got a favorite toxic moment this week?
My bad. I had my mic up. Dude, there were so many, bro. I mean, it didn't take long. That's for sure. It never does. I think the most toxic thing I saw, though, man, came from some of our own Bengals fans. I mean, minutes
especially
after the game.
week one.
Just minutes after the game was over. I mean, there were fans calling for fire Lou and fire Zach, and again, dude, I don't understand that. Like, real Bengals fans should understand the situation we're in right now and be thankful. Just be thankful. So, that's probably the most toxic thing I saw, dude. Like I said, I don't care less about what talking heads say and shit. So, because the talking heads on the TV box, bro, they ain't never got nothing to say about the Bengals.
Honestly, one of the more toxic things I saw was Nick Wright's show. He literally hung a banner that says, they sleepwalked through our Super Bowl. That the Bengals Super Bowl was the Chiefs. Now, the Bengals Super Bowl is the actual Super Bowl. And I agree the Chiefs are the biggest piece standing in the way. But maybe if the Chiefs took it a little, but yeah.
That's Nick for you, dude.
The Chiefs don't want to see us in the playoffs.
No. Honestly, I don't think this sounds like a complete biased toxic Bengals fan, but from a football perspective, if they stay on the pattern they've been with Burrow healthy, this team's going to go on at some point a little tear through the NFL here in the coming weeks, hopefully. And I don't think there's a whole lot of teams that are going to want to see this team because when they've been on their stretch, 10-game win streak, an 8-game win streak to close out 1 year, a 10-game the following year, went on a 6. Nick Wright swings on Mahomes nuts. Yeah, for sure.
He does.
He is at the park for sure.
Yeah. Like one of those little Jerry curls down there just kicking it.
Well, before we get into some closing thoughts here and wrap this up, because we're going on an hour, don't forget to, if you're watching this, we appreciate it. Right now, we're at 41 people watching right now through all 3 platforms. We appreciate everyone stopping through.
And they're all like, look at these bums.
Yeah, and I'm assuming a bunch are probably just listening to this. The chats are open on Facebook, on Twitch, and YouTube. In the coming days, this is always a VOD, so jump in, subscribe to the Facebook page. All of us, are all on X, sharing our thoughts about the Bengals and games. And, we just want to interact with people and talk Bengals. And that's the whole reason we're doing this. So
I'll tell you what, I want to give a shout out to any Raider fans that are on here or out there because the Raiders did us a solid by upsetting the Ravens. That's huge for us because I don't think Cleveland will be there in the end, and I don't think Tomlin can coach up this team enough to go to the playoffs. I just don't see it happening. They've won 2 games and scored 1 touchdown. They haven't played nobody. When they get to the meat and potatoes of their schedule, Schittsburg screwed. Sean Watson's horrible. I don't see any hope for him. He can't get enough massages to make himself play good. So by the Ravens starting out 0-2 along with us, it still bodes well for us to win this division. So thank you, Raiders. Way to upset them for sure.
Ray, got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, is that an aviator helmet back there behind you, Bengal Bob?
Yeah, it's my nephew Gage's helmet.
Gotcha.
Gave it to me after the season.
I thought it was, man, but I'm sure there were some people watching this like, dude, what the hell is the purple and gold back there, bro?
So you're a Minnesota fan?
He's a closet Skull fan, man.
I like JJ.
No, I don't. Just keep coming back, keep watching. Obviously, we're just some brothers here, some Bengals fans, man. You know, feel free to speak your mind.
Yeah,
we like that. We appreciate that. Like, follow, click. You know.
Yeah.
And with the Bengals, it's a long season. We said that after week 1. We'll say it again out of this. Things feel better, but all the toxicness will roar its head if they lose to the Commanders on Monday Night Football. You got primetime game all day Monday. Everyone's going to be talking about the Bengals. They're going to be the only game on TV Monday night. Historically, this team shows up for prime times. Hopefully, they're going to show. I think they're wearing the white. That's why I wore the white tonight. I'm not sure.
Don't get it twisted. This is a must-win, though. I mean,
this is a must-win game. But the world's not over. There's no reason to panic. And if Bob and Ray's predictions are halfway right, it's going to be a boat race. And, a big primetime win, that would be massive. And we're going to be right here next Tuesday at 8:30 talking about it. Win, lose, rain, shine,
whether Dax Hill can't tackle or not, we'll be here.
Yeah.
Guy can't help himself. He's just got to get those digs.
Hold on. Let me go back to toxic talk. But, per usual,
right, bro.
Thanks, everybody, for stopping through. And
we appreciate you all very much.
Come back in, jump and chat. And,
Absolutely. Who Day,
We'll talk to you then.